Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to head to our first very panel discussion of this day. But before that, we begin with our panel. Just a quick reminder for you all to please share all your key takeaways on your social media handles with the hashtag DATAMATIXX and hashtag unlocking business growth. You can share all your key updates on your social media handle. This panel is powered by Mobavenue. First up, may I please invite our session chair for this panel. We have with us Anjali Malthankar, National Strategy Director, Tonic Worldwide. A huge round of applause. Warm welcome to you. Next up, joining us on stage, we have Anant Ranjan, Vice President, Growth and New Business Initiatives, Mobavenue Media. A warm welcome to you as well. Next up, joining we have is Nikhil, Kurian, Head of Digital, Tata Motors. A warm welcome to you as well.
Media mix modeling as well. In terms of where do you need to push the media, whether you need to actually add an additional frequency or you actually need to add an additional reach. What is the kind of output? Similarly, we work for another CPG brand where when we were trying to optimize the website, the marketing campaign, we realized that the ERP system can be actually better, right? So again, data analytics played a very vital role in terms of a very small aspect which is called the route optimization. And we were able to optimize roughly about 50 to 100 hours for each of these projects, right? If I have to go to sorry, I will have a case just before I go to this. A case where a BFSI player, right, where we are able to put a lead scoring mechanism in terms of what kind of leads should the call center pick up, what kind of audiences is the right fitment to convert first. And then post that we have also built a predictive model saying that, okay, if the user has purchased, say, hypothetically a credit card, what could be the next best product that you could sell? What is the duration of that? So I think these are some of the use cases that at least we have seen and we have experimented and we've got success in that.
Corrections to literally finding the route correctly for the truck to actually talking about the
we keep talking about media a lot, saying that media is a thing. Google and Facebook already are running a hell lot of data science and all the platforms.
Yes.
I think one of the things which I want to put it here is data science is not just a use case study or success case. Some places it become the necessity also. I'm seeing this in the media planning. You mentioned about this, about the media prediction, about the box office. Last 2 decades of the media planning I'm seeing it. It's becoming so cumbersome without putting a science behind it you cannot do. Even now there are the 500 plus news channels are there. Earlier, which was the most simple genre to do the media planning. So whether it's the media planning, whether it's the displaying the communication to the consumers. Now, earlier you do the once company campaign in a 2 year, but now there is a 1 to 2 content in a month, and then out of that we do all kind of the digital planning and do the different the customized creative. So the data science is becoming using these models are becoming the more and more necessity rather than just showing it to just these are the success cases. So I don't think it's a one-off. Now it's becoming the everyday part of our planning of the media, developing the communication, showing the product to the audience. So those ways,
Plus, I think it's all trackable and ROI driven. The offline part of it was not trackable. Of course, ROI driven it was, but it's challenging. On the digital side, everything is trackable and everything is ROI driven.
No, but here I will say it is not that easy also. I will again give you in the context of the media. Now the syncing the data, what is the points of the rating of the TV and what is the measurement matrix of the OH and what is the measurement matrix of the digital. I am the one consumer who is moving in the city, who is watching the TV, going to the OTT and all. So it is not that easy also. Now it's evolving stage, but it is as the more and more points are adding, it is becoming I think somewhere very cumbersome also for a marketer to see and how to sync in all the data. Maybe there must be some models are getting developed.
But look at the beauty of it that the digital side, you can run campaigns, digital campaigns, you can use any UTM parameters, but you know where your customer is coming from. So that segmentation is, and very focused segmentation is where you can attack as a customer.
Yes.
I was leading to more in terms of, yes, I think data science is the new essential, everybody wants it. But I think I'll just give you the example of social media, right? And I told you that we have so much of free research that anybody can use. If you're able to digest that data and sort of like make it into some way that you can consume it. But I think that's where the challenge is, because social data does not marry with a company's, say, CRM data, for example. And so long as companies or agencies or whoever it is has data in silos, you would not be able to make head or tail. And that is where, for example, customers are one, but maybe even in terms of agency structure, we'll have offline agencies, digital agencies. Planning is never integrated, but a customer would be driving, seeing a billboard, he would be back home, going through social media at the same time, watching TV in the background. I think we need to come up with ways in which we look at customer experience at the core and see how, with the relevant data and not having all the data points but nothing talking to each other, that's the kind of ecosystem.
It shouldn't be fragmented.
Exactly.
It has to be holistic.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of discussion which happens around CDP as a concept, right? And people think that it's just one of the hype, but it is one of the most critical things. What Nikhil is also talking about, it is critical. If you have a CDP in place, then all we are trying to talk about is understanding the user journey, getting them back to a central single currency, and then from there the model actually will work fantastically. Silos will never work.
I think one thing that I definitely want to share with the audience, and we are the audience as well, is while in discussions like these, models, predictive algorithms, etc. get talked about a lot, I think the beauty lies in doing simpler things, and that's as he was saying, is more day to day than just doing those one-off things. One example that comes to mind is, anybody who's seen a DTC business even slightly closely will agree that there are three things that if you balance those three things, you will have a successful business, and those are CAC, AOV, and LTV. Okay, if you balance those three, you've hit the holy grail. And I think we've used data. I'll not call it data science per se, but data extensively to understand what AOV works for a new consumer, what is the right CAC for the right AOV to CAC ratio, what kind of offer combinations at what AOV, or what product combinations give us what kind of repeat purchases and hence LTVs. So that is a history that we've built over the last 2 years, saying that what are these various combinations, what are these different triggers, and what is the trend if, let's say, you got somebody at a 700 first order AOV at a CAC of, let's say, 300 versus you got somebody at 600 at an AOV of 1200. Is there a variation in lifetime value, repeat purchase, etc.? And if yes, what's the product composition of that better performing cohort versus somebody who doesn't exhibit a good return or a repeat? So I think those things really help us in defining what to go for when there's a certain. So there are times when the business objective is to get as many new consumers in, whereas at times the objective is to do it more profitably, etc., and hence rely on repeats better or better quality consumers. And that history, organized in a very usable, readily available manner, helps us tremendously in day-to-day decision making, and I think that's one of the examples.
It's very day-to-day is what I'm understanding.
It is.
Can I ask one more question? So if the data is available to all the organizations, right? So I could be a consumer for X company, Y company, Z company. So I'm a target customer for him. So how did Sugar Cosmetics as such differentiate from Nyka's of the world or M Caffeines of the world in terms of the product or in terms of digital engagement with the customer to realign that customer from Nyka to say Sugar Cosmetics? Sorry for asking this question.
A very difficult question. I don't think I can answer in my lifetime. Okay, to be extremely honest, because if I knew the answer, I think. But I think more than one thing is for sure, the entity that has the largest amount of data, and in this case, in your question, Nyka, obviously will have a lot more insights about the consumer because they understand the consumer not just from a makeup and cosmetics perspective, perspective, but the entire beauty and personal care perspective. Yeah, so that richness of consumer profile definitely adds to their benefit. Okay, how we still try and differentiate is whatever the consumer is telling us or not telling us, and one of the differentiation strategies that we have, and it's an explicit stated strategy, is to keep launching innovative products faster than some of the legacy companies, because the legacy companies have a very set way of doing things and making products, whereas we have a slightly different model. And a lot of the new launches that we do, we try and collect early information of whether this is going to be a good or a not so good product launch, and hence we shape up our production plans accordingly. And that is where again early indicators, what are those early indicators from the consumers is really important, because if that's a differentiation strategy, we can't go wrong in failing in, let's say, more than 50% or more than 40% of our products. And hence building those signals on various channels, various platforms, and getting that information early helps. That's one example how we try and do it. But yeah.
I'll talk to you offline.
Okay. What are the other applications of data science in our day-to-day life? So we spoke about a few examples here, but are there different ways of using data science in other aspects of decision making as well in brand building?
Maybe I'll take maybe marketing aspects. Like I said, again, in the case of automotive, it's a high value. On a monthly basis, we have millions of people who come and visit the website. At the same time, they'll be going to XYZ brands. So you can imagine the kind of universe. So I think where data science can come in from marketing standpoint, especially for high value items, is how we can understand the customer better and assign values to this customer. Because unless we do that, you can imagine the kind of overexposure and the burn across the funnel. So I think that could be one use case where we're able to assign values. And how do we assign values is where I think data science comes in. Because looking at historical data, who is my existing buyer, what do they look like? Even within that, again, a car is something that you own for 4 or 5 years. Service is a big part where the car industry makes money, the dealers make money.
Right.
So this is again a model where can I predict when he or she needs to change the tire? When is the next service due? So this is where it comes in, and I think through marketing, CRM, knowing the right channel, is he more prone to using whichever channels that is. I think that's one use case which data science can really solve, and today we're seeing the value of it. The proof is in the pudding.
Interesting.
I would like to just add on a slightly bit to how an agency perspective also works on this. While we look at marketing as well, right from we actually try and analyze the first party data to the core. I think it's we already did 40 minutes. I think so. Is that it?
Yeah.
So I'll quickly just summarize this. We try and build models in terms of what is the right reach and frequency, which actually impacts things like an AOV, LTV, conversion ratio. So the models are actually built around that as well. Right from planning in terms of first party, third party, building a better word structure, building a better lookalike. Actually, data science actually works a lot in that favor as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. So I will give you the example of which is not that's the very online channel kind of example, but how the data science can be used to develop the offline channel insight also. So we had used the data to predict the channel development or channel footprint also.
Yeah.
So like in the channel, in the distribution channel, it's always the belief if you give the exclusivity, dealer will make the more margin and he will try to sell the more units of the product.
Right.
But once we did the analysis of the last 4 or 5 years, we find out that there are the certain ways where you club the range, and then those dealers can, in cumulative, they can give the better growth to the organization. And then we tried in this model. We implemented this insight, what we wanted from the our data, and then sales really got benefited into the business. So sometimes these insights you can find and implement into the offline channel, and then get it
Right. Interesting.
Shibu was just prompting that. I think I have a I spoke about marketing use cases,
Right.
but even from a, dealer network planning, where do I plan where future chargers of electric vehicles need to be?
Right.
I think we were just discussing, and I think it's a powerful example of how data science can fuel such big decisions. And it's not intuition based, it's not on legacy database, it's actually users. And this is being possible because today cars are also connected. We have data, how much kilometers they're driving, where they're stopping. So
Where to go for
lots
charging,
of
all of that. Right. So what's the future of data science and decision making? I think that's more or less the last question. Of course,
I think the future has to be making decision making much more faster. So I think speed and decentralization. It cannot be just those nerdy, geeky data scientists sitting in isolation and churning out very complex models and presenting data in a very complex manner. It has to be something that everybody in the team, in the organization can use readily at the click of a button at their fingertips. I think that's the future, because otherwise we'll keep complicating it unnecessarily. And speed, quick example, for example, when we start the day, we have a simple model that tells us what is the day's projected sales going to be and which offer is doing better than average, etc., etc., etc. And by 11 o'clock we know if we are going to do the targeted numbers or not. And everybody in the team has access to the same information, and they use their relevant parts to figure out what tweaks do they do by lunch at 2 o'clock so that we save the day. Okay, so that's speed that I'm talking about, and those two things I think have to be the future: speed and decentralization.
that also kind of makes me wonder what is therefore the limitation or the caution. I think you had something to say when it came to the caution and the data security and all of that. Backstage, we were talking about.
It has to be the use in a proper caution manner, because sometimes data can mislead you also. So the way you massage the data, and it will start talking to your language also. So rather than finding the inside, you can mislead the inside also. It happens when we use it. But yeah, describe the old problem and prescribe the new solution, which a much faster and precise manner. That's the future is going to be on with this.
Yeah, while we don't have much of GDPR, we are not GDPR compliant in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Even the data policies in a lot of organizations and brands are weaker. I think that's one segment that everybody should be actually be cognizant of how to use the data, who should have access to the data, in what form should you have access to this data. So I think that becomes very, very critical.
What do you all have to say for the reading of data and the human intervention when it comes to data science? What's your view on that?
I would just sum it up, like everybody in the panel said, data is important. Data is important locally for the organization to survive, because each of the verticals within the organization have to talk to each other at the same level. And because for each of them, whether it's in supply chain, the customer is the same. So you have to be customer centric. But ultimately, this is in vogue right now. It is in very nascent stage. The next 10 years or so, machine learning and all data will be good. But there's a word of caution which everybody wants to keep in mind is too much of analysis leads to paralysis. So that should not happen. We need to have a human intelligence to garner what is required of the data. Too much of data, sifting through data without any objective will not take the organization anywhere. So I'll just give you one small example of an organization which does over 30,000 CR of business called Patanjali. Right? So they are very strong in the offline sector. But now they have partnered with us in terms of getting into the digital space. They've got a brand called Upela, and that is what we're working on. So I would say every organization, either today, if they are not on the digital side, will have to use this data, artificial intelligence to get into it, and of course chatbots are coming in. So ultimately, you have to talk to the customer on a real-time basis.
And I think I'll reiterate what Nipun sir said in his keynote: humanization of data. And I think we've been very close to making a lot of those mistakes when we've missed the consumer context and relied data 100%. And the funniest example and the weirdest example that comes to mind is I was talking about offer analysis, etc., 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 and data keeps telling us all of that. What we missed in one of those analyses was that we said that we changed a lot of these things and hence things changed, but the only change that happened was the color of the free pouch that we were giving changed from red to blue, okay? And everything just changed. So that's the consumer context, because data can hide a lot of those finer nuances, and hence it has to be a combination of the consumer context along with the interpretation of data. And I think Nipun sir said it really well, humanization of data. That's a phrase that I will take away from today's session, so yeah.
Who has to be the model going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally resonate with it because I had Gypsy at Tonic, and our methodology is actually HI plus AI, which is human intelligence and intervention plus artificial intelligence and intervention. And one example I would like to kind of give you all is, the SOVs we look at, right, sometimes on digital platform. And one of the brands that I was working on was looking at it as a vanity metric, saying, hey, the SOV is so high. And when we actually told them that actually that's not what it is, because some of the mentions about the name were actually coming from some fancy dress competition of a little girl somewhere, and it cannot be attributed to the brand. And that is where human intervention is also needed. So yes, I think we all agree, and I would like to kind of conclude this.
Is there anyone in the audience who has
any questions?
A D2C brand on its own? Anybody in the audience, please?
Yeah. So any questions? Anybody? You can just take one question at that.
Alright, so if you all have any questions, since we're running a bit tight on time, you all can please connect with our speakers offline as well. So first up, a huge round of applause for this power panel. Thank you so much, Anjali, for leading that conversation, and to all our speakers for sharing your key points on why data science is important for businesses, and also sharing some very interesting case studies with us. Thank you so much. And on that note, I would like to invite on stage Priya Mishra, Marketing Manager at Adgully, to felicitate all our speakers. Come on, where is the energy in the room, everyone? Thank you so much.